Sidekick Comics Geek-Tastic podcast. I'm Dave, and this is
Isaac.
Today we're going to do all of our usual bits. We're going to start off with our fanboy news. Okay, today in our fanboy news, we're going to talk to you about the DC announcement that in September, in recognition of the one-year anniversary of the New 52 reboot, they are going to, across the board, number all the titles in their universe as 0 issues. And what these will be standalone stories. Some of them will talk about the origin stories of the books. Some of them will just expand upon the already existing origin stories. So I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be a good thing. You know, to expand upon some of the origins are good, because some of them in the New 52 they kind of rushed into. They just jumped and said, "Oh, here it is." So I like that they're going back and expanding. I like that they're going back and they're doing these origin stories, and doing it in the form of a 0 issue in recognition of the year anniversary. Is kind of a cool way to do it. What do you think, Isaac?
It sounds really cool. Obviously, I want to see Batman's backstory because I love Batman, and it actually seems like something I would really want to see. Also, same thing with like people like Nightwing and maybe Robin or Batwing or Batman. So I think it's gonna be good. I think it's gonna be I think it's a good thing for DC because, like he said, they kind of jumped into the New 52 with just the you had to know what they already are. So for people who just started with the New 52, here's a good thing to get you started.
And they also said that as part of this, there will be 4 new issues, 4 new books beginning in September. One of them is going to be called Talon, and that is a spin-off from this multi-book story, The Court of the Owls. It's running through several of the Batman books. I believe it's about the only one of the Talons that survived and escaped, and now they're being hunted by their former masters and their trainers. So that should be interesting. I did like the Court of the Owls arc that they did. Another is going to be called Sword of Sorcery, which is featuring the return of Amethyst. The Phantom Stranger, which is spinning out of this character, the Phantom Stranger, his appearance in the Justice League and in the New 52 Free Comic Book Day book. And then the final one will be called Team 7. Not a lot of details have been released on this one. It is a team of 7 individuals. It's supposed to be set in the early days of the New 52, and they claim that it has pieces of different books and across the universe all kind of coming together into this book. So it sounds like it's kind of a new thing that's going to thread its way through multi-books. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Okay, now we're going to talk to you about a highlight book that is coming out new this week. And this week we're going to talk about Spider-Man #1. It comes out Wednesday, June 13th. Yes, we did say Spider-Man as in plural. This book will be the #1 in a 5-part miniseries, and it will unite the main Peter Parker as Spider-Man, which we all know, and he will meet and unite with his alternate universe counterpart Miles Morales, who everybody knows primarily from Ultimate Comics Spider-Man. The Miles Morales character has been very well received. People seem to like it overall. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with combining these two. They've not really released any details on how they will meet, or what the villain will be, or why they will meet. But the artwork that has been released has been extraordinary. Brian Michael Bendis is writing, which it is a good thing. He's an incredible writer. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, how they meet these two, and probably more importantly, where it ends up. Is this a setup to do away with one of them? Is it a setup at the end? Will they just part back and go back to their universes? I don't know. They've not said. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye. I can't imagine. I mean, they did kill off Peter Parker obviously before. That's how Miles Morales came to be. But now obviously he's back, as is typical in the world of comic books. Death is not forever. So it will be interesting though to see what they do with this, where this 5-part series will go, and what the results will be. Isaac, what's your thoughts on Spider-Man?
Well, I really like Spider-Man, but I especially like Spider-Man villains. Like, I love the villains of Spider-Man. I think they're really awesome. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how they integrate villains from both universes into this. Also, I think a interesting twist that I think they might try to use is they might actually kill off one of them. It would be interesting to see if they actually would kill off Peter Parker, and I think that would be interesting because it's like killing off him would leave only the Ultimate Comic Spider-Man instead of just regular Spider-Man, and that might be something interesting to maybe lead off into another book.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they'll kill off Peter Parker with the reboot of the movie franchise, and obviously it is Peter Parker in the movies. I don't know whether they're going to try to keep that continuity between the two. I do agree with you on the Spider-Man villains. Outside of Batman, I think Spider-Man has probably the most recognizable villains. In lots of books, sometimes the villains are kind of throwaway characters. You see them for a bit, then they're gone, and you don't think much of them. They don't have a lot of development. Obviously, all the Batman books probably have what I consider the premier villains in comic books, character-wise. I mean, you know, Joker had his own book even for a while, and you know, and I think Spider-Man is the same way. You know, some of the characters are very well developed also, so you don't automatically assume, you know, that they're just throwaway, that they're, you know, will be there for this arc and then they'll be gone. They're a little more invested in that. So like I said, I don't know what, you know, will be the villain in this book. Okay, now we're going to talk to you about what we're reading. For what we're reading, I went light this week. I gave Popeye #2 a read this week. Actually read it for a review that I did online. So I'll talk about that. I enjoyed it. I'm not what you would call a huge Popeye fan, but Popeye as a character is definitely entrenched in my childhood. I grew up watching the cartoons.
Your mom make you eat your spinach?
Yeah, I had to eat my spinach and all that, but you know, my forearms never exploded or anything. Oh. But I do enjoy Popeye. I was excited when IDW rebooted Popeye. I thought it was a good thing, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed reading Popeye #2. There was nothing new, nothing groundbreaking. If you've seen Popeye, it's your typical stuff. You know, Popeye fighting the bad guy for the attention of olive oil. Nothing new and groundbreaking, but you know, you get some chuckles out of it. It did have a good backup story with a professor looking to, you know, create his next big invention, and there are obviously trials and tribulations in the way of him accomplishing that. I thought the backup story was more humorous than the main story, but maybe because I was not as familiar with the characters. I did enjoy it. If it's something, if you just, you know, if you're looking to, you know, be nostalgic, it's a decent read. Nothing thought-provoking though. But and Isaac, what did you read this week?
I read a independent book called Nazi Werewolves from Outer Space.
You're talking about the Trauma Comics book.
Yeah, the Trauma Comics book. I was a little skeptical about it. I looked at it and I was like, it looks interesting, but it looks a little crazy. So I looked into it, I read it, and it's actually really interesting. It's just kind of basically these werewolves that come from outer space, and they happen to be Nazis, and they're trying to take over the world, and it kind of focuses on this kid he sees his parents die in front of his face, and he's like, oh, I must get revenge, and he starts trying to fight these guys off. And it's really interesting and really creative, especially for an independent comic book, and I just think it was awesome. And we have issue #1 right now, and I cannot wait for issue #2, because sometimes with independent books, you really don't know when they're going to come out. Hi there. Isaac here with my Yu-Gi-Oh! Tip of the week. My Yu-Gi-Oh! Tip of the week is to be mindful of how many cards you have on the field. You can only have 5 monster cards in your monster card zone, and you can only have 5 spell and trap card zones in your spell and trap card zone. So, you have to be mindful of how many cards you have, because someone could play a card like Heavy Storm and wipe out every card on your field, other than your monsters, of course, because that's only for your spell and traps. Or if you have like an overabundant amount of monsters, it can wipe out all your monsters if they would use something like Dark Hole or Lightning Vortex. So, you would only want to set down trap cards in any kind of situation, and you always would want to play magic cards or spell cards directly from your hand. So, just remember, when you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh!, be mindful of how many cards you have in your field.
Hi there, this is the Chief with the interesting fact of the week. Did you know Peter Parker's parents, Richard and Mary, were field CIA agents who died in a tragic plane crash? So, to catch up on your favorite web-slinging orphan, come here to Psychic Comics. Hi there, this is Logan with some Psychic Comics news of the week. Psychic Comics will be closed June 22nd and June 23rd, a Friday and Saturday, as the owners of Psychic Comics will be traveling down to Charlotte, North Carolina for Heroes Con. Also, when visiting Psychic Comics, be sure to ask for our pull list and subscription services, even available through our mail order. Also, watch our YouTube channel this Thursday for our new weekly clip featuring the Chief.
This is Captain Xander, and we'll see you next week.